Welcome to another edition of International Soccer Break. I'm your host, Sahil, here with Roycito. We are continuing the coverage of Copa America. Rahi is in Europe, and so we're the domestic crew, the Copa America crew, right? No, we're
Rocky is a vagabond, man. He's always in a different location, following the beautiful game. It appears he's there for
yes.
the Euro. I'm hearing.
Yeah, Roy. So let's get into Copa America because we have reached the final group now. Final group preview. This is Group D. So let me demonstrate what Group D is. I know, Roycito, this is a group that you don't have direct national ties to, but you know we of course have some big teams in here as well. Who we got, Roycito?
I do have national ties. Brazil and Argentina will always be tied together, even though we don't want it. Neither side wants to be tied with the other, but we are mortal enemies. And this is the group of probably the team that Argentina fears most in this tournament, which is
Okay.
Brazil.
And of course, we got Colombia, who's
Man.
is always a difficult team to play against, and then Paraguay and Costa Rica. We'll get to them. Those are teams that had their heyday in the sun before, not so much currently. So,
Yeah.
but
Top to bottom, the difference in quality from the top team in this group versus the bottom team in this group, it is egregious. It is a massive, massive gap. But this is the beauty of the Copa America. This is the beauty of this beautiful sport that we could see some upsets. We could see Costa Rica maybe pull some magic like they have in the past decade or so. I'm doubtful, but that gap is so big. It is so top heavy in this group that I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued if it's going to be predictable. But how often are these groups predictable? How often do the top two teams on paper end up being the top two teams in the group? It's not as often as we think. So should be fun.
Should be fun. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's start obviously with Brazil. Obviously, no Neymar. This is now Vini Jr.'s team, right, Roy? And coming off a fantastic season. I think that's an understatement to say a fantastic season.
Yeah, that this Brazil team is the story of Neymar. It is Neymar's catastrophic injury from, when was it? 6 months ago now, 5 months ago. He's not going to play in this Copa America. And that is a huge, massive blow, not only for Brazil, but for us, the viewers of the beautiful game. This is one of the last remaining hyper technical, this tiki taka, just smile on his face, always doing beautiful tricks. It's the beautiful player that players like Ronaldinho, they almost don't exist anymore. So it's a shame we won't get to see him. But the big question for Brazil is, how do they replace Neymar? Who is their nine?
Well, it's interesting because it's a new team. It's a completely new team. Like no Casemiro, no Neymar. You have a couple guys in the back, like Marquinhos, who's been there, Eder Militao. But it's going to be up to youngsters. And obviously the big name is Endrick that everyone wants to see.
Endrick is 17 years old. They're likely going to start him. He's been very, very interesting over the past months. He had 2 very important goals recently. He's really coming into his own. He's showing the world that he is the next great striker on a global scale, not just for Brazil. But is this going to be too big for him? Is a Copa America starting position for Brazil probably one of, I would say, 2 teams with the most pressure in this tournament, the other being Uruguay? Can he handle that kind of pressure? Can he handle the physicality of this? I think he can, but I think it's going to be a lot of mental. 17 years old, you're just not, for the most part, going to be developed to such an extent to handle this kind of pressure. But he could prove us all wrong. Brazilians of the past have done it. 17-year-olds of the past have done it. He could be the star of this tournament.
It's going to be very interesting, I think, especially in the midfield, because up front, they got enough firepower to cause problems. I think the midfield and defense is where some questions could come along, but we'll see that as the tournament progresses. All right, moving on to Colombia. This has been a team that has been over the past, few years, pretty strong team. and of course Luis Diaz making his name in Liverpool, and the return of James.
Yeah, I think Colombia, for me, has results-wise been amongst the best teams in the world over the past couple of years. Look at their record. It is absolutely incredible what they've been able to achieve over the past couple of years. This team is pretty much unbeatable. They're fantastic, but there's a big question around their captain. And even though their captain has been playing quite well for Colombia, he's been a disappearing act on the club scene for better part of the past decade almost. It's been 10 years since he captivated the world in Brazil in 2014. But since then, where's he failed? He failed at Everton. He went to the Middle East for Al Rayyan and just did nothing. He went to Olympiacos, was a huge dud. He's in Brazil now for Sao Paulo, and they want him gone. They're desperately trying to get him off their books. And he's the captain and starter in the center midfield for Colombia. And that's who's leading them. But it's working. It's working. And they have Luis Diaz. They have up-and-comers like Duran and Sinistera. And it's a very, very strong team. And they could very well win this group. I feel they have things together more than Brazil does. They know their team better. I feel Brazil, there's a lot of question marks still. Colombia's a dangerous team, man. One of the favorites to win this tournament, I would say.
Bolsteno Arrocito. Let's see how that goes. And so now we'll get to the sort of the rest of the group. And this is a team, Paraguay, that, they had a heyday before, when at that time there was a team that made it to the finals, the 2011 Copa America. But since then, since that loss to Uruguay in the final, they've really dropped off. And obviously, you have Almiron, you have a gentleman that you see very regular in the MLS, their goalkeeper. So this is a different team.
Yeah, goalkeeper, they're in good hands. Coronel's a very good goalkeeper for the New York Red Bulls. Almiron is a star. He is a star, and he could very well carry the attacking load for this team. He's just such a phenomenal player. But the conversation kind of starts to end there. Like, what else do they have? They have a couple other interesting pieces. But for me, in watching them, I think in CONMEBOL, they've only beat Peru and Bolivia. Aside from that, it's been very lackluster for them in the World Cup qualifying. They're not
terrible run of results in the World Cup
qualifying. Really bad. And they're not a fun team to watch. They're not exciting. They don't have flair. They have Almiron, but that's just not enough, man. That's like talking about Norway and Holland. I mean, it's just not going to be enough. I don't think they're going to do very much. I don't think they're capable of a deep run in this tournament. So that's where the divide starts to happen in this group. You got the top two, and then you got this massive jump to Paraguay, and then another massive jump to
Costa Rica. So Costa Rica, obviously, they didn't get great news before the tournament. Keylor Navas, obviously retiring. So now they have a goalkeeper conundrum as well. And I don't think there's much to say about this team. Bunch of, domestic players for the most part. No offense to the Costa Rican league, but this is not the Costa Rica of previous years that made the World Cup run. And then Joel Campbell is well past his prime at this point in time.
Yeah, the biggest news, and this is detrimental for Costa Rica, not only from a chance to do anything in this tournament perspective, but from a watchability perspective. People love Keylor Navas, not only Costa Ricans, but on a global scale. He's considered one of the world's great goalkeepers. Not having him in this Copa America is a huge blow for Costa Rica, for people who love this game, for goalkeepers like myself who love watching great goalkeepers. So that's a sad one. But like you mentioned, this is another team that has failed in the generational transition. They had this golden generation, 10 years ago, where they were just a menace, man. They were an absolute menace. Look how they did in that World Cup. People were afraid of them. Teams were afraid of them. Coaches were terrified of them. They were punching way above their weight. They had talent, and not only talent, but they had this belief in them. That has all but disappeared. That's no longer visible with this Costa Rica team. And there isn't much for them they're a young team. I think their average age is like 23 or even younger. That's 23 with Keylor Navas. I think they're 22 without, but it's not superstars. It's not young up and coming brilliant players. It's a lot of domestic league, a couple MLS guys, but I don't see too much coming out of this Costa Rica team.
And a very bad qualification, against Panama. Had a very bad home and away against them. So yeah, not that. Yeah. So okay. So just final thoughts, Roycito, for who's getting through. What do you think? Brazil, Colombia, is that for you?
I'm going Colombia 1, Brazil number 2. I think Brazil is beatable. I think this Brazilian team is beatable. I think they have question marks with how Endrick is going to show up. I think he's going to do great, but there's a good chance he won't. So I'm going, Colombia, Brazil. I'm going Paraguay, Costa Rica.
Okay, look at that, Rosita, the Argentine choosing Brazil to finish second. But I will go with you. I'll go with you on this. I'll go Colombia 1, Brazil 2, Paraguay, Costa Rica. Okay, very quickly before we finish, we always do this quick segment. Who's the most famous person? And so I will start off with Paraguay. I know he's maybe not in the news exactly currently, but I'm still going to go with my favorite goalkeeper of all time, Jose Luis Chilaver, and he will always be my most famous Paraguayan for me. So that's that. All right, moving to Costa Rica. Who you got, Rosito?
Costa Rica, it's none other than the man himself, the legend, not the myth. It's Keylor Navas, man. That's for me number 1. He's a national icon. He will be forever. For the rest of time, it's Keylor Navas.
Okay, and then moving on to Colombia. Rosito, who you got for this?
I got one. Do you know the song? Waka waka, hey, hey, waka waka, eh, eh, da banana, na. That was
Shakira.
There you go.
Shakira.
Finish the song, Sahil.
Shakira.
Let me do her famous dance as well. Give me a moment.
Okay. Yes.
I'm not going to do it.
I thought that was happening, man. That was gonna make this video go viral, man.
You got to pay a subscription for that content.
Okay. Absolutely so not. Shakira, and finally Brazil. A lot of choices here. Obviously, we mentioned some footballers, Neymar and Pele. Obviously from past, but I am going with the number 1 supermodel of all time, Ms. Former Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen. That's okay. Number one of all time for Brazil.
That's the one. All right.
So that's a bold,
very
bold
American decision there. Tom Brady's ex. Okay, yeah.
She was a superstar way before that other type of footballer came into her life, man. So and she will continue to be a superstar beyond. So that's that. All right, everyone out there. Copa America is starting soon. We're excited for that. If you're enjoying these videos, please subscribe to the channel. We will be bringing you every single day of the Copa America a recap, and we are excited. Everyone out there, keep watching the beautiful game, and vamos Copa America.
Vamos Copa America.